interested in Halcium energy. I know they make these like really cool products. Can you tell us a little bit about Halcium and like how did they reach out to you as a startup?
In my consumer career, we'll call it, where I'm selling tangible products, I've made a lot of connections, and a lot of the connections I still use. I dabble with Amazon. I dabble with private labels still on the side, part of that Dome Investments. And through those connections, one of the people I used to work with, but he runs a program with a company called Lion Energy. And especially with the pandemic, energy sources have taken off. I am not just from a solar aspect, but other energy sources, but solar is a big part of it. One that's always intrigued, obviously, is wind power and basically natural earth power things to help things go. Yeah. So through another connection, I actually worked with a guy. He was our CEO. He was a county manager type guy. He got involved with Halcium. Really smart guy. And he reached out to me and said, this could be a big deal. They've been working on it for years. He's been working on it for years, and I should at least take a look at it. So I got to actually see the prototype. I got to see how it's looking and what their plan with it is. And it's kind of interesting. They don't have a complete plan per se, a complete rollout, but the amount of interest in it just from testing the market, from crowdfunding to distribution, super interesting. And I, from a personal sales standpoint, having some of those connections, figured if it did fund and it did do well, that I can even help out and help get it out to the market. So I have vested interest all over the place. And I know power sources are just going to be a big deal, not just now, but for a while. And getting out of the normal solars and things, getting into the wind is just so interesting to me. So I knew I had to get involved.
So do they have a fully functional prototype as of now, or like they're still designing, redesigning, 3D printing, all that stuff?
Ooh, that's another good question. So I am not completely involved in the day-to-day, but I do know that the prototype that they have is functioning to some level, yes. With the funding, they are now getting, they have a local University of U involved and getting the proper, and an engineering firm involved to make sure it can be done in mass. And doing the proper testing and the proper certification. So it feels like it's on the cusp, but nowadays you never know. It could be next week, it could be next year. But yes, it is. It's moving right along.
Product development does take a lot of time. I mean, because for us, we're like, I'm a little bit about myself and what we do is basically we created a company like 3 years ago, a startup too, and we're into green technology as well. That's why I really liked Halcium, and I like how Halcium can utilize the 360. It can grab air turbulence from any angle, so that's a very cool feature. And one of the struggles we had as a startup, I think, is it's one thing to design a product, but I felt like it's a whole different thing to make it, to bring it to life, because it's like there's this full cycle of things that you missed out on. Like I remember, so basically our company, what it does, we address city pollution, and we create sustainable solutions to city pollution. We're talking about indoor pollution mainly. So our first product is called Air Be Air. It got funded on Kickstarter and end of 2019. And since then, we took all this money and we started developing the product. We didn't know it was going to take this long to come up to the final prototype or like golden production sample. It took around like 12 iterations or 15 3D prints and testings and, things that we never thought. So it's interesting that Halcium's, like if you're saying you saw a fully functional prototype, it's pretty cool. How long they've been doing this for? Like how long it's been?
Well, adding on to your story, they've been working on it. He's been working on it for I think around 5 years to get to this point. Size involved was a big thing. So I will admit, when I actually saw the prototype, I envisioned it smaller. It was bigger than, for the same reasons I think that you were mentioning, is to get enough wind in the whole bit. But I do know. What's that?
it's a big device. I mean, it's how tall is it? What are
I saw is probably up to my chest, so it's probably about 5 feet. It's maybe a little bit taller than that. I'm not sure, but wider too, because it's hard to tell in video. Consumer products are so funny; they're hard to tell when you're just looking on an Amazon listing or a picture of some sort. But the other vision I had with it, or I've seen that they have, is not just it's be able to use that for houses, but RVs for portable offices, whatever. And so having it that big of a device, it's a matter of connecting it to the place, the RV or whatever, to create the power. So that's something that they're going through, but I still think it's going to be awesome. But the idea that learning curve was there. Size was one of those things that had to be able to get the wind.
Did you were you with them throughout the journey, or you were like playing as an advisor, friend?
Man, yeah, only here and there. And my specialties are more in the sales avenue. So right now I'm power sports, so looking at like RVs and distribution there and e-commerce and how keeping an eye on the market, if there's anything that's like it or price points was only my advisement, but way outside looking in. I am not that product development guy. So I can say, hey, this might work here because of the sales avenue or the demand, but it was only short bursts of information from me. I was just more looking to invest in that.
So you're interested in green technology startups. Did you invest in any other green tech that in this space? Do you?
I have. This was my first green tech startup. I advised, or I mean, I looked at a few. I messed with a few, but this is, as I want to make sure I put my money in something that I believe is just going to go. One, I look at the people involved and make sure that they have a vision to keep going versus just a random idea. Because like you said, it's not 5-10 minutes of brainstorming. It's years sometimes in product development. And so this is one when it came to be, this is the one I knew I wanted to get involved with. I've only done research on it, right? Stared at the market, tried to figure out who's coming up with what and how they're efficient. And that's about as far as I went until now. Now I do have vested interest. So when I do talk to them, I'm putting out feelers and feeling like if a contracting company or an RV or an e-commerce would even be interested or what they thought, things like that, and get the feedback. And when they have a full functioning product, I'm going to have no problem connecting some dots.
When do you see them getting to the commercialization space?
Sometimes when I get the update, it's more ambitious than others, but I actually can see it within a year. I think they're going to be, is what it feels like at least. But I'm sure they would kill me for putting a timetable on it. I'm just, but the amount of interest they've gotten, how many people have reached out to them because of crowdfunding and or things that they've seen or news articles, and not just from like a US local market, but from international, has been nuts. They have pre-orders already on the books, and they've been very clear that we don't have anything ready, but these people are waiting around. They want it. So, and some of them are commercial, some are direct to consumers. It's a mixed variety.
I mean, people wait for Tesla. Why wouldn't they wait for such a green technology to come through? I feel like, I think that's the difference between software investors versus hardware investors. Hardware is like, they're more patient because they really understand the product and they see the potential. Whereas software is more like, I need my 50 times return in the next year. Like, what's your exit plan? All these sort of things. I've been asked these questions before, even though I'm a hardware company. but I was reaching out. I feel like one of the mistakes I made as a hardware company is I was reaching out to the wrong investors. I was reaching out to software investors, and I thought, they're all, because they're like on LinkedIn, no one says hardware investor. They usually say angel investor, and then you look at their portfolio, they have all these different startups that are software related. So I think that's one of the struggles that we as hardware entrepreneurs face, is that the community has shrunk. The investment community has shrunk to the point where it's like, you gotta find those people looking to be like on your journey, by your side, until you make them a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like,
That's true.
you're part of the journey rather than you just waiting to get your like return on investment as quick as possible, exit and move to the next company, etc. Yeah.
I think you're hitting it on the nose on a couple of different avenues. At least I live in Utah, and we have software startups feel like they're every day. Like, just things pop up, things disappear, they sell to other people, they have to scrap it for parts. People are jumping jobs all the time, but when they do hit a good return, they hit a good return. But you are 100% correct that people are just waiting for that return. When I was involved with climate, I had shares, I had options, I was involved, but I wasn't involved at a board level, right? I was an employee as well. And I was just waiting myself to see who they sold to and why. And this allows me to help not only pick who they would sell to from a distribution standpoint, but at the end, as a lead investor, I get to help represent the voice of the investors of, it's okay to sell to this company or for this amount. I have a much stronger voice in it, a much stronger opinion on it, and that's where I want to be as an investor. I don't want them to cop out just because of X, Y, and Z reasons. So just more vested interest, I guess.
That's that's really cool. Like, I'm very happy for Halcium to have found, because believe me, I've been like, for me to find an angel investor in this space specifically is like, it was near impossible. And I tried all different types of scenarios. Like, I've tried the LinkedIn approach, it didn't work. I mean, I did get investment, but I feel like, and right now, like, we're doing the equity crowdfunding because we did Kickstarter, which is crowdfunding. So I'm kind of familiar with the crowdfunding space, and we're on WeFunder too, by the way. But I feel like the investors going on WeFunder, they're more open to hardware investments versus just the generic investor, you know, like. So it's cool to hear from you, because I think this is going to help a lot of hardware entrepreneurs to understand that it's not about just looking for angel investor title on LinkedIn and approaching them or going to tech events. You have to be very specific when you meet investors. You got to know like what they're interested in. That's why the first thing I ask you is what are your interests? Like, what do you like? So it's
the crowdfunding thing versus investor wise is so interesting, because, for example, LinkedIn, I get hit up here and there, hey, invest in this or buy this, and it's become a sales platform, which is great, and that's what it's used for, and I use it all the time. Crowdfunding, there's also that dynamic of you want to jump on something that you feel like you're missing. So even Halcium, like, you have this slower start to it, but then when people feel like it does have legs, and if they feel like they're missing something, you watch it really grow. And it's a weird dynamic, right? We're a nation of consumers that don't like to be sold to. It's so weird. But when you get into a funding situation, one, you can put yourself in there. Yes, you know what, I want to get involved. And then even then, after you said you want to get involved, they confirm, do you really want to get involved? Now it's time to put your money where your mouth is. And you have people drop off because of that. And so getting it from all the way from the start to the finish can be quite the process. Halcium did a great job with it. But it wasn't from not learning. This was their second attempt at it to really make a difference. And he had a few good things happen to him, a few articles or people that picked up on the idea that saw the future, and then it can really grow from there.
So did they advertise? Did they like go on Facebook ads? Did they do any of these like paid ads?
I don't think he did ads. I do think that they took the concept and sent it out to a few publications or a few trendier green type magazines or posts, but there's no advertising for it, I don't believe. There was a strong effort individually to make sure that the project was sent into a bunch of people's hands so they could see it. And I think where he had success, and I am speaking for him, but one of the things he had success was he sent it to green initiative type people, magazines, podcasts, whatever, say, hey, here's a project you might be interested in. And some of them latched onto it and did news articles.
But that's how they approached it. Because I feel like, I don't know, initially I applied on Start Engine. They accepted us and they're like, okay, so you got to pay this $10,000 upfront fee, which is like it's subsidized. So basically, you'll pay it after you raise money on the crowdfunding site. And the fee waste, basically what it does, they said they will help you prepare the launch page, which anyone can do. I can do it. My brother can do it. And I felt like that was kind of a bit weird because they never mentioned this $10,000 upfront fee as the service cost. So I decided not to go ahead with them. That's why I went on WeFunder. But then again, you look at these platforms themselves, they're taking hefty fees from us, the entrepreneurs, the little guys, and they take 8% to 10%, sometimes less, but that's the average. And even WeFunder takes 8%. So, I mean, I don't feel like they're actually helping the entrepreneur to get their word out there. They're just like, hey, you're on our platform. All right, pay us a fee. It's like, why aren't you promoting us? Why aren't you like connecting to all these publishers, trying to help us raise money because you're going to make more money? So.
Right. And I know they have some basic algorithms in place, especially if a project's getting momentum. They'll send out the emails, I guess, per se, but yeah, it's an interesting advertising space as a general rule of thumb. Paying amount of money for a platform and or a space on the internet is such an interesting dynamic. I mean, you would think from a vested interest from a crowdfunding that they would want all projects to succeed because they have all the money coming from it. So I don't know. I'm just curious on what they pick and what they don't. But I do, especially something like Halcium, where it's such a different, unique idea. I think that sometimes helps too for them to get going. I do know, and again, I don't want to speak too much for them, but I do know that WeFunder had vested interest in this one because it grew to be pretty big investment without a tangible product all the way done. And that was a concern. And so they actually had to reword some of the contract or some of the verbiage on it before it funded, just to make sure that all investors were clear that the product was not to market yet. Things like that.
I see.
So that actually delayed some of the funding. So I agreed to funding it, and then they had to reach out and said, hey, we had some change of the verbiage, and I had to agree again because it became such a big.
Yeah, they raised close to $1 million. I mean, it's like, I think what they're doing is right. I think eventually I'm gonna speak to the CEO, and I'm curious to know like how did they reach these many investors to help other entrepreneurs too, to look at perhaps there are alternative ways to reach out to hardware investors that I'm not familiar with. I'm sure a lot of hardware entrepreneurs don't know it. And that's why I created this podcast, because I feel like since I started on the hardware journey, I was always like, thinking that, it's going to be easy, but it's been so tough and there's so many elements into it. And I still believe that building a software company is easier than hardware because you're not dealing with a product that doesn't, like, if you have a bug on the software, you can fix it, you can outsource the work. But hardware, you gotta have your hardware engineer there, mechanical, electrical engineer. You have to work together. They might not like each other. They may, you're entering into territories that are so unfamiliar. And that's why I created this podcast, because I felt like people can learn a lot. Tech entrepreneurs can learn a lot from investors and from entrepreneurs who made it, who developed the product, got it on Amazon, did the crowdfunding campaign, either equity or the pre-orders, and they got their product out there and now they're successful. So I think through stories we can learn a lot from you guys that been there, seen it all. But I wanted to ask you, one of the, like, your career is in sales, and what's the best, like, what was the moment where you're like, man, I nailed the sales pitch? Like, can you give the tech entrepreneurs like what's the best way to sell without being pushy or without actually selling online or whatever, in person?
So I can narrow down a few places, but for me, one of the big turning points in my life, and I will say that I'll reflect on Halcium here in a minute and I'll explain that. But one of the big turning points in my life is I was younger in my career, and I actually mentioned it before, and I was with Climate, and I had this big idea of making a huge presence online, and Cabela's in the hunting market was the place to be from a hard goods perspective and camping and the whole bit. And we were not a big enough company. We were small. And at the time, Cabela's had certain rules in place. You had to be a certain size. You had to have a certain insurance policy to even get involved so you could supply product. We weren't that size. I didn't realize that was their requirements, which went in my favor. Spent weeks and if not months working on the pitch and the concept, and finally got my appointment. I flew out to Nebraska and we explained what we were doing and how. And in the meeting, he clicked a dot and he said, hey, what if we made this a house brand you guys manufactured for us? What would that look like? And so we had to pivot. My whole months and weeks of working on this pitch, we had to pivot in the moment. And by the time we left, the buyer felt like he was missing out if he didn't go with us. One, we were growing. Two, we knew what we were talking about. And three, he just felt like he would miss out versus me trying to convince him that we were the guys. We put together a prototype and we had 3 months to do it, and we got it done in 2 weeks. And we sent it to him and he called me on my cell phone. He said, like, I can't believe you guys can get it done like this fast. We have to go with you. I'm going to send you the paperwork. Hung up. There's a big celebration for me and for the company because we were growing. And what I learned in that moment, the big life-changing thing is I wanted people that when they talk to me from a sales perspective, that they are missing out on something that's going to be great, something that's good, that something's going to change their life or get involved with, versus me convincing them to take it. And that's reflected pretty much my whole sales career. And full circle to Halcium, this is a product that I don't want to miss out on, and I don't think people are going to want to miss out on it. And as it gets to the market and as it starts to hit commercial and residential and direct consumers, I don't think it's going to be a matter of people loving it just as a product, but they don't want to miss out on the future of wind-powered
energy.
Yeah, you don't want to miss it. And that's at least for me in my sales career, that's the way I approach it and the way I sell it. And software is a great concept and a great thing. But if I sell it, I want them to feel like they can't go without it versus me convincing them to. Like I said before, consumer nation, but we don't like to be sold to. So I think it's more of a mental thing that you don't want to miss out.
You're looking to invest in other startups, and which ones have intrigued you so far in WeFunder other than Halcium?
Gotcha. So I decided to diversify my portfolio in a little ways. I've invested in property rentals. I'm very intrigued by Airbnb. So I'm working on an Airbnb project right now so that it's more of a unique destination versus like a rental. I have messed with shares. So I'm diversified. I'm putting money in lots of different places, in options and trading. Trading is a very interesting thing. I've had days where I've killed it and other days where it sucked, and it's just a legalized gambling in my mind. And that doesn't seem like as much fun. I mean, it is fun, but it's not guaranteed as much. And so I figured a tangible product, I wanted to take a big swing in something I believed in this case, Halcium. And I want to see how it pans out. I'll get involved. I'll do a thing. But my next investments are going to be different, maybe more tangible like land or et cetera. But the one WeFunder, I get their emails and they're like, hey, you might be interested in this. The thing that I'm kind of looking at is virtual reality, VR stuff. There's been a few projects come through WeFunder, but I have an Oculus here, which is a simple VR, but I have a buddy that was involved with a company that was training blue collar welders and other through virtual reality for testing and other. And I just think VR could make a big impact in the next 5 to 10 years. So I'm exploring investing. The other problem that's happening right now, Halcium, and I'm assuming for you, is depending on where you're going to be manufacturing, is shipping costs. That hasn't even come into play yet, but like I messed with some cooler stuff on the side, and I could ship a container of coolers for $3,000 last year. And now my last quote was $23,000 just to ship them.
23,000
to ship it one container to the U.S. right now.
Wow.
So I had to put it on hold. I told them, I said, I got to be at least closer to 10K. And the logistics company came back and said they're predicting June of 2022. Just the shipping costs are pretty wild, especially when you're talking consumer goods like this. After you get the tooling, after you get ready for distribution, you got to make sure you figure out shipping to get it over here. Assuming you're manufacturing overseas, or if anybody is. But wow. If you can do it in the U.S. right now, you're a little bit, even though it's more expensive, it's cheaper to ship.
Just to be clear, you said from 3,000 it jumped to 23,000? And you're shipping by sea?
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness. Wow, that's scary. Is it because like what's causing this hike in price?
From my understanding, it's a few things. One, it started with tariffs, right? Like tariffs started bringing everything up as it was. Two, the supply chain of parts has all jacked up because of COVID related things and the way protocols the countries work with them. And I don't know the exact detail, but for some reason, the US stopped shipping containers back to China or Taiwan or wherever you're going from. So they would ship them over, we would unload them, and then it was cheaper, more effective to not ship them back. And so now other countries were having to find some, and that got costly in time, etc. And then obviously, if you don't know the port situation, but LA right now has ships all over in the port just waiting in line to get unloaded, and we're paying astronomical fees for overtime to get people to try to unload them. Trucking companies have trucks sitting all over the country waiting because the business is slowed down. And so if you even notice the grocery stores to consumer goods, Amazon, etc., everything's just shorter and getting up in price. It's just
my goodness.
It's just the world we're living in now.
Wow. Well, Tanner, thanks a lot for your time. Really, it was great meeting you. If you know what, maybe in the future, in a few weeks or so, we can do an episode just about distribution and shipping. I mean, it looks like you have a lot of experience in this, and I'm sure we can all benefit and learn from each other from the shipping, logistics, whatever. So
that's its own thing.
So much. Would you mind if I send you a link to our refunder? Maybe you can give us some feedback about your thoughts, like what we could change, improve, or whatever.
Surely, yeah. Send it on.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you. I'll probably edit the video first and I'll send you the recording. It was very nice meeting you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you reaching out.
Take care. I appreciate you. Bye.
Bye.